All right. Oops. I have to turn something on here. There we go. I'm going to get started today. I'm going to warm up a little bit. Oh, wait. Let me get my jacket on. I got to look professional. Yes. How's that? All right. Okay. I'll get started. Do a little, we'll do something. Let's just pick something. Anything whatsoever. How about, oh, you know what? I think I'm just going to start off like this. Thank you. Please hold the applause. No, don't hold the applause. Now what I did there, just as I used just a classic rock and roll style, and if you just push rock and roll variation 0, it gives you a 50 swing rock. Gotta watch out for this cord. It's been crackling when I step on it. So don't walk over here. And so anyway, it sounds like this when you start it. All right, you hear the bass player. Now let me take off the background. I'm going to turn off Orchestra Plus and G, or Basic on the E series. So it's just a drummer and a bass. You hear the drummer and the bass? Now I'm going to put on auto bass too. Listen to the bass player. Okay, you're kind of doing that boogie woogie. Now, if you go to your screen, this wasn't really the part of the class today, but if you go to your screen and touch keypad, just type 1 for piano, and then push pedal genius. Now listen. So the bass player, and you have a piano boogie going. All right. Now over here, if I do the same thing, let's see what happens. So you got. Okay, I'm going to turn off the same two things. Here's your bass player. Okay. Now let me put on auto bass 2 here and see what happens. Hear it? Okay. So for those of you who have the SU series, well, actually everybody has the ability to do the keyboard. We talked about that last week where the numbers come up. And in the manual, there's a list of sounds in the organ. Okay? And you can assign those sounds in various places on the organ. What I did here is I decided to put 1. I just know 1 is a piano. And I put it in this pedal genius on the organ. So it basically put a piano sound in there. So while the auto bass was playing, it put in the piano sound in there. Okay? That was such a well-loved thing. On the A series, you can do the same thing, But if you put auto bass 2, it automatically puts it in there for you. So just keep that in mind. Okay? And then obviously on the E series, if I put that same thing, I have to find the style, but it'll do the same thing. All right? That wasn't really part of the class today. That was just a little bonus. I thought I'd share what I did. What I do want to talk about for starters is harmonies. Now, show of hands, how many have used the harmonies on the organ?
Yeah.
All right. I kind of do. Sometimes I don't. Just depends on the sounds. All right. It's a little tricky. I'm going to talk just a little bit about harmonies as one of the topics today. And if you write this down, I'm going to give you my email. Okay. My email address is rroman@fletchermusic.com. Now, technically, you should all have it because when I send out the announcements for the week, it comes from my email. rroman @fletchermusic.com. Okay? And just to make sure you got it, I'm going to do, let's screen share this. Okay, I'm going to right here add in a text. Where is it? Change that to black so I can find out where it went. Oh, there it is. That's awfully tiny. Let me increase the size. Woo! Okay, rroman@fletchermusic.com. Okay, there it is. You just send me an email, say, please send me the harmony sheet. Okay? I'll print it out for you here. So you don't have to go home and send me an email. Okay? But for those of you who want this, what I'm going to show you in just a minute, we've talked about this from time to time in various classes, but I want to make sure if it's something of interest, you send me the sheet. And it's just kind of a fun little chart to have. Okay? So the chart looks something like this. Harmony, okay. So there's 3 pages, okay? And you'll see, you can kind of see it there from that angle. It has AOC, 3-part, full AOC, grouped AOC. I don't know what you'll do with this other than be able to look at it and go, oh, that's pretty cool. Okay? Octave AOC, duet, octave, 4-part, block, polka. You know, recognize these harmonies? All right? Some of you have probably seen them on your organ. Okay, and then this page will also be attached. Okay? It's a page out of the Marquee manual, but it basically lists them all on a screen. So it's going to slightly vary depending on the model that you have. All right? So everyone that has a touchscreen model, or even almost anybody with a Lowrey organ, has AOC. And I'll go over a few examples. And I'm going to share, again, I can do a 2-hour class and not have enough time. So I'm just going to give a little snippet. But here's what AOC does, if you want to write this down. When you're playing and you use AOC, okay, whatever note you're playing, you know, if you're playing the song, you play the song as you normally would. When you press your 1 note, it adds the next 2 notes, so it's a total of a 3-note chord, 2 notes below your melody note. Okay? Hey, Tommy? Tommy, are you there watching the screen? Can you do me a favor? If you see people that are in the waiting room, just go ahead and admit them in. Okay? I can hear you talking from the office, but not on the thing, but that's okay. Okay? Just keep an eye on that for me. Okay, so AOC takes whatever note you're playing and adds 2 notes below to the left. The reason for that is the melody in most harmonies is always on the top on a Lowrey instrument or any instrument. And I'll give you an example. All right? I have to use a song that's easy to demonstrate this with. I'll play Spanish Eyes. Okay? And I believe duet does the same thing, but I'm going to try to demonstrate this the best of my ability. All right, so I'm going to put on just a nice, simple organ sound. Okay, so here's a simple bossa nova. Okay? And I'm going to just play a one note, no harmony or anything. Okay, that's just one note. Now, Tommy, let that person in. Now, I'm going to put on an AOC. Now listen to it. Understand it as Spanish Eyes. So what it's doing in this case, I don't know if you can see that from there, but I'm going to play the 3 notes. Here we go. Melody's on top. Now I'm going to play the same song. I'm going to play the melody note, but instead of playing the melody note on top, I'm going to add a note above it. Now listen to it. Okay? Now you can kind of tell it's still for Spanish Eyes, but the melody is not as distinct, right? It doesn't stand out. That's because I added the harmony above it. So when you're playing and you're using harmonies, most of the harmonies will do just that. It'll allow you to play your note and it'll add notes below the harmony. That's why we commonly get phone calls that say something of this sort. You know, I was playing, it was sounding kind of muddy. Because what happens, depending on the sound that you're using, I'm using like a kind of a rich organ, just a plain old rich organ tone. If I play down here, and I'm using an AOC, which is adding 2 other notes, it's going to go this way. It gets kind of muddy, doesn't it? Now, in some of the harmonies, there's a 3-part harmony, okay, or also known as an open harmony, depending on the model you have. Let's see what it says here. This says open AOC. On the SU and the A series, they call it 3-part. Now, AOC and 3-part, they play 3 notes. Why are they called something differently? Well, because what it does is it plays the notes differently on the instrument. So for example, AOC, tell me if you can, hopefully you can see my hands here. AOC, if I'm playing an E note and a C chord, it's going to add the next 2 notes below. Okay? What open does is it takes the same thing, but it takes the middle note out and it brings it down an octave. So watch. So here's the C, here's the AOC if I'm doing it manually. Middle note out. So it brings it down an octave, so it spreads the notes, and that's why they call it an open harmony. There was an organist that a lot of people refer to by the name of Jesse Crawford. He did a lot of those open harmonies that gave it a unique tone. So if you're ever using an open harmony or 3-part, what's going to happen If you're playing a little too low, it is going to sound muddy. So if I'm playing a song down here with an open harmony, you're going to get not only this for an AOC, but an open harmony would sound like this. That's why we commonly suggest with a lot of harmonies, you're going to play them further on the right side of the instrument. Now think about a 5-part harmony. Well, just in hearing that, you automatically know you're going to get 5 notes. So if you're playing something here, up in this range, and you're going to get 4 or 5 other notes below it, it's going to be a big, full, rich sound. Okay? I would be careful with certain sounds. For example, a banjo, because the type of instrument that it is, a banjo, okay? If you put on a harmony, kind of sounds a little harsh, doesn't it? Now, if you're playing like a Dixieland or something like that, and you got a banjo on, let's say put on a Dixieland here. Oh, do 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 do. Setup actually puts on a banjo down here on the lower right, and it has a harmony. All right, but I'm going to just hold the note for a minute. Okay, but you wouldn't hear us holding that note down for too long. So, personal preference, I do a staccato. Okay, so it depends on the sound, depends on your preference. But sounds like that, or sounds like percussion sounds, you got to be careful with the piano. If you play the piano and you have a harmony on, you play it too low, sometimes they get a little harsh sounding. You never go wrong with a string sound, the symphonic strings. You have your yellow strings here. But if you take a look, let me pull this up on the screen again. If you look at some of the harmonies, you'll see how AOC is giving you examples. These are just examples of what it does. When you're playing the melody notes, AOC, and it looks like it here, it even has a 4th note in there. Okay? 3-part harmony, see how the notes are open. They're spread out. Okay? Octave AOC, what it does is it plays the 3 notes, but it puts 1 note on the octave down here. Okay? And these are just examples, like duet. If you're playing a C chord, what's being played if you're playing the melody note? This is an example. See here? This is the melody note. And it's showing you what the other note is. Now, it's more of just kind of a good to have to kind of understand what's happening when you use these, etc., etc. So we've got some great harmonies here. Barbershop, look here, it gives you 4 harmonies. Now if you look at this here, there's actually one called 4 parts somewhere. Let's see.
There it is. Fourths.
Oh, there it is, 4-part. Well, this is different. This is 4ths and 5ths. That's different. This is an actual 4-part harmony right here. Mm-hmm. It means just that. It's playing, you're playing the note, and these are the other notes that it's playing if you're doing that. A barbershop also plays 4 notes. But notice what it says here. The melody is here, and this is an example where it adds a harmony note above it, which is a little different than what I just said. You'll still hear the melody, but you see it plays the notes differently, so you hear the notes differently. And don't get confused with harmonies with style of music. A lot of times people will use a country harmony only when they play country songs. About 3-4 weeks ago, whatever it was, when I taught my song of the month and I did Hey Jude, or was it Hey Jude? Hey Jude? Yeah. I used a country harmony in there. And Hey Jude is not considered a country song. The only reason why I did it is I liked the way the two notes were playing when I used the country harmony. Polka harmony I use sometimes and I'm not even playing a polka. So you can use different harmonies with different styles of music. Here's a great example. I'm going to put on some strings here. Let's see. We'll go back to the Latin. Let's see. We'll put on a rumba. Okay, and here's a rumba. I'm going to do it with AOC. Anything's going to sound great with these symphonic strings, by the way. Listen. Okay, now what I'm going to do is reach over and I'm going to push polka harmony. Doesn't sound like a polka. It's just the notes that are commonly used when people play polkas with the for example, the accordion is very commonly used with that. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions? I know you're thinking about it. All right. So, for example, over here we have a harmony called hymn. All right. Well, they're on most of the models. Okay. Now, most people think when I play hymn harmony, I got to play a church song. Well, not necessarily. Now, hymn harmony, if I'm not mistaken, let's pull that up so I'm not mistaken. I can just read what it says right there. Does it have it on this chart? Come on, give it to me, give it to me. Please be there. It's not there. Let's see, AOC grouped. Duet octave. Did I pass it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. So you'll see it's very similar to an AOC, only it plays the note up here and it drops down another note below here. It takes this note and brings it down an octave. It drops down a note down an octave. Now this note is changing a little bit, but here's a C chord. So if I was playing the C, it would do E, G like an AOC, and then it takes another note and brings it down an octave. Okay? So it really spreads out the notes. Now, if I'm playing a hymn, yes, great. But what if I'm not playing a hymn and I just want a real nice, let's put on, let's see, we got just a classic soft and easy. I got some nice strings there. Now we put on the hymn harmony. You notice I'm playing up on the top part of the keyboard, and it's just giving you a forward sound. Now, harmonies tend to come on when you're using presets. They don't come on all the time. So if you're using your rhythm styles, and you're using just a rhythm preset on, and 1 through 10, number 10 is commonly programmed a harmony there. Okay?
Yes.
Number 10 commonly programs a harmony because rhythm preset number 10 is always a big sound. So it's very common there. Number 9 also programs a lot of harmonies in that preset. So if you're using a rhythm preset, and for those of you who were on the class last week, I told you that these presets are always changing depending on the rhythm you're using. Whether you're using rhythm preset, here I have rhythm preset and organ rhythm preset, so that's 22 setups. And over here I have organ rhythm preset, vintage, and normal, so that's 33. Okay? Well, you're not going to get half of those with harmonies. Okay? But what it will do is a percentage of those presets will put a harmony for you. And that's usually as a result of, that's kind of an ideal thing to do as a setting. Okay? For that sound. So the other presets, you can add harmony to it anytime you like, and just go through them. I have soft and easy here. I'm just going through, and I'm looking over to the right side. So far, no harmonies. And when I get to, let me back up. Number 7 has a harmony. Now tell me if you can guess which harmony this is. You can guess easily because you can just see. I'm going to put it up on the screen. All right, I'll play a little bit of it. Let's see, I have 2 pages here, so it's kind of tough. Wait, let me see. AOC 3. I'll give you a hint. It's on this page. How's that? Okay, let me just play a little bit of this. Let's see what sound I have. So I have a vocal sound. That was kind of nice, actually, that choir. Anybody want to guess what harmony was activated on this setup? I didn't do it. It just set it up for me on this one.
Okay.
That was a very good guess. That's what it was. So what happened on whenever I was using here, soft and easy, easy 4/4, I used rhythm preset 7 and put on a nice vocal choir sound, but polka harmony was automatically activated. Did not sound like a polka, did it? No. So don't confuse harmonies like polka and rock or country, ones that are titled like a genre. It just means it's great for those styles of music when you're using it, but you can use it for other things, okay? Now, so I have here this beautiful Rhapsody here. The Rhapsody has AOC, duet, 3-part, 4-part, country, polka, block, and hymn. The Royales, when you get into Royale, Stardust, and Palladiums, they jump up to 15 harmonies for the upper keyboard. Okay, this is just kind of information depending on what organ you have. On the Prestige, the A series, well, not all of the A series. The A series, and I'll ramble off a few off the top of my head. Legend Supreme. Oh my gosh, every time I say A series, my computer thinks I'm talking to her. I had this problem last week, didn't I? Siri, yeah. Up.
I thought so.
Okay, she's saying I thought so. How do I turn you off? Okay, it'll go away. I'll have to be careful how I pronounce that. I know how to do it. On the A models, Legend Supreme, Floridian is really where it starts. There's some smaller A models. Prestige, Imperial, Sterling, Patriot, Symphony, Liberty. If I missed one, I'm sorry. Patriot, did I say that? Sterling. What they have is you have harmonies, the same 15 harmonies on the top, but what you also have is harmony choices for the lower right. And the beauty of that is, and I'm sure this happened to every one of us no matter what organ you have, you put on a rhythm style, and you're playing along, and sometimes you play the melody, and there's always a sound on the lower right keyboard if you're using rhythm presets, which is nice. And then sometimes we go to the lower right keyboard, and sometimes it's a little hard to hear the melody or vice versa, okay? Well, the reason for some of the harmonies is that sometimes we want a big sound here and here. So for example, let's say I want to play a little bit of, here's one. Unforgotten, for the unforgettable music of Nat King Cole, okay? I'm just going to use rhythm preset 0, and I'll play a little bit on the top and then the lower. And listen. sometimes they put harmonies on the lower right for you as well. Now for you E members of the class of the Marquee, hopefully this is just a good reminder, okay? And I'm going to come back to a couple of little tricks you can do with some of the harmonies. Sometimes this feature is activated and sometimes it's not. And you can turn it on whenever you want. But on your instrument, it might be a little difficult to see from that camera angle. To the right, you have your two harmony for the upper and the lower right. And right next to the harmony button, there's a button that's called cascade. Okay? Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. Sometimes all of them are on and off. All right? So if you have a style of music and you're playing and you have a harmony and it's activated, what's really cool is that any time you can reach up and hit cascade. Now, simply what cascade does, if I had one of those harmony examples, if you have a 4-part harmony, you're playing a note, what it does, instead of playing all 4 notes with one finger, it does what it sounds like. You play the note and it cascades the notes down, depending on the harmony, okay, one at a time. Okay, and then if you continue holding it, it'll sound like a full chord if you just let it go. But what it won't do is a full chord. So as an example, let me just pull up some cascade settings for you. So here's an example of a piano. I'm going to turn off the cascade. All right, I'm just going to play a simple. Now you can hear the harmony all at once. Okay, now watch what happens when I put on cascade, and I'm going to play the notes. You're going to hear one note at a time, but if I hold it, so a lot of times the organs will choose harmonies, and sometimes it has cascade on. And sometimes it'll just have a harmony sound with no cascade, but you can always reach up and touch it. Okay? Now, a couple other little tricks with harmonies to keep in mind. So some of you have a feature I call the doodad. It's not called the doodad. It's called the virtuoso. You know that little keyboard up here? All right. So the virtuoso is kind of a fun little thing. It's not something that I use all the time. It's just something I use occasionally when I'm playing or I want to impress people. I just go like this. Okay. So if you're playing a song and well, let's see here. Actually, here's something that I'll do. I'll do this style is called jumping jazz. All right. So if you have that rhythm going, well, some people have this virtuoso, and where the sound comes from, okay, it comes from what we call the golden harp. Upper, or it's programmed here, or in the lower right. Okay, so if you don't have it programmed for any the upper right or the lower right, it'll take whatever sound is programmed in the golden harp. Now, if you have a question mark about this, feel free to ask or get in touch with one of the staff members to elaborate. But when I say golden harp, a lot of the organs have the golden harp features. Okay, which are really cool. You can change the golden harp sounds on every model that has golden harp, with the exception of one instrument, but none that's represented today. So if I'm playing a style, or actually let me just put on a chord. Just a chord that's holding, right? Now I'm going to put on a golden harp sound. Okay? that's number one, that's up and down. Number two just goes up. Three goes down. Okay? And then it has a genius button. Okay? Or in the EX series, it's called sounds. It's right next to it. And if you push the genius button, it accesses all of the individual sounds in the instrument. Pianos, guitars, bells, whistles, you name it. Okay? Whatever sound is programmed in that genius button is what sound and what you'll hear. In this case, it happens to be bells. Okay? Now watch. Okay? Now I'm going to turn on the genius. Okay? Now some of you have 8 golden harp sounds, and the patterns go up and down, and there's one called virtuoso, banjo pattern, guitar pattern. Don't mistake, this is kind of like the harmonies, polka, country. Okay? Guitar pattern, banjo pattern, it's not going to be a guitar sound. It's going to be the pattern that a guitar player would play. A banjo pattern. Okay? And then there's called skip pattern, step pattern. They all do different things. So if I put on, let me just put on the easy button here. Okay? Let me put on the tempo. All right, so here is up and down. Okay, here's virtuoso. Skip pattern. It's a pattern. Here's guitar pattern. It's still a harp sound right now. Okay? It's not a guitar sound. It's the pattern. How the guitar player would pick. Now guitar and banjo are very similar. Now here's the step pattern. Okay? And then here's the banjo pattern. Slightly different than the guitar pattern, okay? But did you notice it's still a harp sound? So if I touch the genius button, let me just touch it and see what it says. It says vibes, okay? And you can change it. So any pattern that I use right now is going to do the same thing, but with the vibe sound. It's pretty. And right now, that is the banjo pattern. Guitar pattern. Very similar. Step pattern. So don't let the patterns fool you. Most people see banjo pattern, they're playing a pretty ballad. Oh, I don't want a banjo pattern. It's just a pattern the way they play. And you can press the genius button and put whatever sound you want in there. You can make it bells, you can make it a guitar, acoustic guitar, strings, whatever sound you want. Okay? Just try it. You just touch Genius, and on the EX, wherever your golden harp button is, there's a button that calls sounds. And that's the same way how you access it, okay? Now, I digressed purposely because I'm going to circle back around to those of you who have the virtuoso. All right? So a lot of people have this little virtuoso, and they use it when they first get it. They go, oh, I like it. And then after time, they go, I don't feel like doing that all the time. The virtuoso is pretty cool because you could actually improvise with it. Mm-hmm. Did you know that? All you have to do is have the chords of the song. I'll show you in a minute. But let me show you first what you can put in here. So the virtuoso has 3 places that it pulls from. It's what's called a source. It has 3 sources. And you choose the source that you want. So on here, and it's kind of similar over here, if I push the virtuoso button, on the screen, it says source. Now I'm going to keep talking, and I'm going to see if I can do this while I keep talking when I don't slow down the progress. And then I'll try to pull it up on the screen here at the exact same time. Okay? I didn't think to do this. Let's see if I can do this without turning my TV off. There's a power button here somewhere. There we go. All right. Not all right. I plugged in. Okay, I gotta press it. Okay. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna change the camera angle for a minute. Just a few thumbs up. Can everybody see that? Okay. All right, so what happened is I pressed Virtuoso, and this came up. See, it says source. So it's basically telling me that right now, if I use this Virtuoso, it's going to use whatever sound is programmed in the golden harp. Now, if I'm using the golden harp and I have Genius that said vibes, what sound is going to go in the Virtuoso? What'd you say?
Vibes.
Vibes. Right, because that's what I have programmed in the golden harp. A lot of people think, oh, it's going to give me a harp sound. No, it's pulling from that source. So now if I have the Genius button off in the golden harp, then it's going to be the harp sound. So, yeah. Okay? Now, you'll notice this thing here. If I touch that, it says pattern. That's normal. So if I'm playing a C chord, let me just put on a... Oh, let me turn off the golden harp thing. But now listen closely when I change the pattern. I'm going to run my finger. Now listen to it. So the notes are skipping. So that's what that means. Now, the other thing you're going to notice, if I touch the source and I put upper, it's going to take whatever sound is programmed at the time, piano, whatever you have in that upper keyboard. In that case, it will put that sound here. If there's a piano there, or you change a preset and you keep that source on the upper, guess what? It'll take whatever sound is in there. Okay? If I do this, low right, again, it's going to take whatever sound is here, doesn't matter what it is, and it'll put it in there. Okay? Now, here's a little bonus to really circle back around from the start of the class, which we were talking about harmonies, right? If you happen to have a harmony on AOC, 5-part, duet, when you're playing, it will actually put the harmony in there as well. Okay? So, let me share a couple of examples and then I'll do something for all three models. So let me go to, all right, here's one I like. I like my Latin styles. When I hear this, I think of Xavier Cugat. So here's a style called Latin Big Band, okay? And I'm just going to use rhythm preset. Okay, now I'm going to start playing. Now I'm going to push Virtuoso, and the source says Golden Harp. So whatever's in the Golden Harp, looks like the Genius button is on. Let's see. The vibes is on, okay? And as I'm playing, all right? Okay, that's pretty cool. And you can do that, and you can change the pattern. You could take, if I want this guitar sound, I could put Virtuoso. I want the sound of the upper keyboard here. So here we go. You notice the harmony went in there. Okay, so you can have a lot of fun with that. But here's where the improvising comes in. So if you're playing a song like I'm playing, what am I playing? What was that? Bésame mucho. Okay. All right. If you have your music, most of us use music when we play, and you have, say, Bessa Mamuch or whatever, and you play the song, and then you might use that virtuoso just to do some arpeggios, what have you. But if you want to go back and improvise a little, you could have a little fun. Go back, play the song, left hand only. And just try to stay in time best you can. The beauty is if you're not, it doesn't matter. Okay, so if the first part of the song is it's almost what, 2 measures? You know, so if you just hold it for the length of time, and on this upper keyboard, you just kind of bounce around on the notes a little bit, and you'll do a solo. So I'm going to do a vibraphone solo, and it doesn't matter which note you hit, as long as you're playing the chord, because it takes the chord that you're playing. I'm playing the chorus. Okay, so maybe I want to do something a little different. I want that saxophone. I want to do a saxophone solo, but I'm not quite musically skilled enough to do it. So where is this at? Lower right. So when I touch virtuoso, I'm going to put source, lower right. So now this sound is up here. And it even brings a harmony. Same thing, but I'm going to do a sax solo. Maybe I'll turn off the harmony. Here we go. It'll play all the correct notes as long as you're just playing the chord of the song. It's almost foolproof. So just a little bonus for you there on, on that. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is play a little bit on this one, play a little bit of this one, and just play a little, and then I'll just tell you what I did when I do after sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do until I sit down. But before I go any further, are there any questions about anything that I've taught today? Yes?
So in the virtuoso, it's like every 3 sections of notes, like a C and
Are you kind of asking what kind of notes are they playing? Yeah. So she's asking about the virtuoso. It depends on how you have it. If I have normal, listen. It's not. It's kind of spreading the notes out. I don't know exactly how they're played, but what I do know is it's not like this. Because if you do that and you run your finger on it, it's going to sound pretty weird. So I think it plays the note. Let me put on the vibra. So if I have a C chord, breaks the C note apart, doesn't it? Now if you have a C7, notice the notes are changing, but it's not playing C, D, E, F, G, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. It would sound kind of weird. Because then you could just do this, run your finger up the keyboard, and that's not going to make any sense. So it breaks up the notes. Now if you do the skip one, it might skip those notes even wider. So good question. That kind of makes sense? All right.
I guess.
It might play. Let's see. Let me play a C chord. See how it's breaking the notes up like a C chord. So it's taking the notes from the chord and breaking those notes up. It's like taking the chord and breaking the notes up for you. Skip pattern's a little bit different. It's going to skip the notes even more so. Good question. Any others? Some of you have deer in the headlights. Oh my God, he taught way too much stuff today. No, hopefully I didn't. If you can leave with one thing today and use right away, then I've done my job.
I heard Brad Bryan one time play Wabash Cannonball and use the virtuoso for the grade.
Okay, so she said she heard an artist by the name of Brad Bryan. He played the song Wabash Cannonball, and he used the fake it button, and he put violins and strings in there. You can do that, and he did like a fiddle solo by putting it in there.
On the virtuoso.
And the virtuoso. So in that case, if you wanted to do something like that, what you want to do is set up a bluegrass kind of a style, or the train does it too, and you want to find a preset that puts on strings and fiddles and violin sound. And then in that case, what you do is you would tell the screen, you would put upper. So it'll take the strings and the violins with that sound, and it'll put it here, and you can just run your finger. And then the key is you got to change the chord. And you change the chord a lot of times just by playing the song over, but instead of playing the melody, you're just doing the virtuoso. Okay?
Okay. That's good to know.
All right. Now I'm going to come back over and I'm going to play a song on each of these today. And then as I do it, I'm going to tell you what I did. Let's see if I can do this while cutting my head off. I don't want to be the headless organ teacher. I'm going to come on over here on our SU series model. The SU series model was pretty phenomenal because when it was introduced, it was the first time we went from a series called LX organs, okay? And LX technology was early, mid-90s technology, and it was a little bit difficult to do the things that we wanted to do. And they had a lot of great innovations that kind of transferred over to the other models as we go. So, and there were a lot of great signature styles. I love signature styles and sounds. I'll play, so I can play a lot in a very short time here. I'm going to do some what I call songettes, so snippets for you. All right. So believe it or not, this style, I know I'm going to hit some notes that I don't want to, because I haven't played this song in a while. So we'll see what happens. I'll just go oops from time to time. It was the first time they actually introduced a style called the swing train. Now, I know it's a little bit before your time, but a lot of people associate Chattanooga Choo-Choo with the name called Glenn Miller. Your mom and dad or grandparents might have told you who Glenn Miller was. A lot of great big band music, but which is different than your country train. Middle part I kind of had to try to remember, but that was just the swing train with rhythm preset 0, and then I reached up and hit drum variation at some point. I love the song setups that came out. We talked a little bit about that last week. Song setups, they had a lot of great. Actually, song setup was first introduced on the SU series. You're getting a good history lesson here, and I'm going to send out a pop quiz in an email, and you have to send it back to me. And if you get all the answers right, you'll win 500 virtual dollars. Okay? But there was a lot of these song signature styles. There's one called Sandy Man. So there's, obviously, depending on the SU series, there was 400 song setups, 500 song setups. They got up to 600. It was the first time they introduced the rhythm preset concept with the change of the 10 buttons, which I mentioned in last week's class. We had a chance to see that. The touchscreen options came out, and then you can use the feature scroll to a lot of the features. Okay. When the A series came out, there were obviously some massive innovations. For the first time, we actually had rhythm preset, which they called normal, which works the same way. And then they had one called organ rhythm preset. And if you remember, I kind of touched on this last week, but when you touch normal rhythm preset in any rhythm, you get 11 setups for that one rhythm. If you touch organ rhythm preset in that same rhythm, you get another 11 setups for that rhythm. So there's 22 different setups for every style in the instrument. And when the Presti, I'll tell you a little fun story. I'll shorten it. This was supposed to be introduced in 2007. And we had these banquet rooms all rented out, all the stores. We were committed to it. And Lowrey basically said, the organ's not going to arrive on time. So we ended up having to totally switch the program around. We turned them into Christmas parties. And I got one literally in the store here on December 24th of 2007, early in the day, and they allowed me to do some private appointments to show it off. So I sat down, and all day long on Christmas Eve day, until it was time to go home, I was just googly gagaing over every little feature, a little new style. You heard the Unforgotten style, I just love that style. The Virtuoso, for example, I'll use that in just a minute, but they had a lot of great cool little things on there. First of all, they changed the way the roll top, little things. I don't know if you noticed, but for those of you who have this, don't underestimate the power of these little metal things and the way the roll top rolls up. It rolls up very simply, easily. It was actually, they lowered it 2 inches. Physically, it's almost the same. If you look at them, they're almost the same. But actually, this is 2 inches lower. So that helped a lot. You'll notice that the panel was changed a little bit too. They put the presets a little closer to the keyboard. So when we're playing a lot, it's easy for us to reach up. But I love some of the signature styles they have in here. There are just so many cool ones. But I'm going to play one here. I got to play that little jumping jazz here in a minute. I love that style. But I can't say one of my favorites because I might say that a lot. But there's one here that was kind of contemporary. It featured the styling of Barry Manilow, which is really cool because this style, you can play so many great songs. But if you play the hit song that it's designed for, Barry Can't Smile, we have the harmony on the top and the bottom. Listen. play a little bit of that jumping jazz, and then I got sidetracked by teaching all that other stuff. So jumping jazz is actually modeled after, and I don't know if this might be before your time, someone by the name of Les Brown. And what do they call that? Les Brown and his band of renown. And he did songs like Leapfrog and what have you. But that styling, this arrangement, is actually inspired by that band. And what I'm going to do is, since I talked about virtuoso, I'm going to take it a step further here. I'm going to have a little fun. I'm going to go into my category setups. And we talked about category setups. Because there are so many new ones, there's a new one here. And if I put it on, you're going to hear, got a trumpet shake, you know. I don't know why, but every time I play that sound, I wiggle my finger. You don't have to wiggle, you just hold it. It does it automatically. And it's funny because people that use that trumpet shake sound, they tend to wiggle their finger too, even though you don't have to. And on the bottom, there's a new sound called the growl saxophone that was put into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my virtuoso that I want the sound from the upper keyboard to go here, okay? I'm not going to improvise, but I'll use it occasionally. But because it looks like I have a harmony on, it put the harmony in here as well. So we'll have a little fun with that. All right, let's see what we got here. See if I can do it where everybody can see it. Person in. Okay. So, and then of course, when the Marquee was introduced, it was another jump in technology and sounds. I could be here all day and not still have enough time to show off the beauty of each of the instruments throughout the generations. But, you know, I actually have 2 touch bars. Woo! But, you know, we have some new features in here that I love to use and a new style. So I'm going to go to my more. If you're talking about rhythm styles, sometimes I'll get asked, what were all the new styles that came out on that model when it was introduced? Well, if you go to more, there's more page 1, more 2, page 3. If you go to more 4, 5, and 6, those were all the new styles above and beyond the A technology, 4, 5, and 6. Now, obviously, there's 7 and 8 for some of you. That's on the Grand Marquee, if you're taking note. For those of you with the Aria, they added a new button up here called Top Hits, and they introduced the new styles on the Aria. So as I'm scrolling through, I'm just going to find one that I think I'd have some fun playing here. And let's see here. Oh, this one I haven't played in a while, so let's see if I can pull this off. All right, but a little trick for you, for those of you who have the Fake It button, I'm going to play the song Cabaret. Now, Cabaret, the way I see it, there's a couple versions in Easy Play. One's in the key of C, one's in the key of F. Just a little bonus tip. I'm playing it in F because that's what I know it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit an F7th chord and then stop. Okay? So there you go. It stopped right there. So on the screen it says F7. All right, I don't have it connected. So, but it says it F7. I don't know if you can see from there. All right. Now what I'm going to do is put on my fake it. Let's see. I have a clarinet on the top keyboard. And what I'm going to do is activate the fake it on the top keyboard before I play. Okay? And what's going to happen is I'm going to get a clarinet doing this nice little solo introduction. And it's doing it based off of what chord?
Yeah.
F7. Okay? I purposely did, because if you do F with a fake it and an F7 with a fake it, the notes that it plays are totally different. Listen. That's an F chord. Here's the fake it on an F chord. Okay? Now let me do an F7. Same thing. It's going to sound similar, but there are going to be some notes. It's a little bluesier because I have the F7 chord in there. I'll just let it play for a little bit while I get ready, talk to you, tell you how much I love you guys and appreciate you. Boy, this guy's good. Hope he doesn't run out of breath. Thank you for all that you do for Fletcher Music Centers. Without you buying organs, we don't stay in business. To do this, you are wonderful, great people. I just keep going. This guy won't stop, right? And then when I start, I'll just turn him off at some point. Turn it off so I can play the melody now. Here we go. Thank you. All the applause. All right. Getting carried away there. Forgot what I was doing here today. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's class. It was a little tricky when I thought about, when I sent the email out, said I'll do an SUA, I did kind of cover. I was thinking, was that smart to do? There's so much in all these models. So I wanted to try to give everybody a little bit of taste of, depending on your interest, something that was you might use if you haven't done it. If you pick up one thing today, that's great. These series of instruments were great through the generations, the SU models. When they came out, they paved the way. And then Lowrey just outdid themselves with the A technology. And then, of course, many of you know the uniqueness and the class of the EX models. They're all great instruments. If you have one that maybe you've been thinking about, I always encourage to take a look at that. We always have some really great, phenomenal opportunities happening. This quarter is even more special. Just a little business. Our first quarter is always very important to the bankers. What kind of results are they going to produce this year and what have you? So we always try to go the extra mile. Sometimes the month of March is almost as significant as the year end. So if you've been thinking at all, what's my next model and this and that, what have you, I would encourage you to reach out to the staff because some models are harder to get. This here, for example, is the only Grand Marquee in our entire inventory available. So they're a little hard to get. Prestige, same thing. There's only, I think, 2 in the entire company. They're very hard to get. And the SU series, we have a lot of SU models, but not a bunch of everything. So for example, that might be one of 5 Rhapsodies in the company. So I would encourage you to do that. We have some really spectacular opportunities. Also, as the national sales manager, I work very closely with the staff members. So I've basically told them this week that you have a customer you want to make happy, let me know, and I'm going to go to the ends of the earth to make it right for the customer and make it a win-win. But today, going back today, I hope you enjoyed today's class. Did you enjoy the class? Any questions before I leave? Now's a good time. If you can't think of it now and you're thinking, what did he say there? What's that? Shoot me an email. I think I gave you the email, rroman@fletchermusic.com. If you shoot me the email, I'll send you back that harmony sheet that I told you about, and then I'll maybe find a couple other extra goodies that I'll send you. Oh, when you send me the email, tell me what organ you have so I know what to send you. I don't want to send you something that doesn't pertain. So I'll send you some bonus stuff, or I might send you some keeping future in mind stuff. But I'll get you the harmony sheet and anything else that I think that might be helpful that we from taught in today's class. Okay? Thank you so much. Stay safe. Keep playing music, and mwah.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for everything. Keep your eye open. I might do another class next week. Totally different.
Okay.